In the heart of the unforgiving Mongolian steppe, around the year 1162, a baby was born clutching a blood clot in his fist, a sign, the shaman said, that he was destined to be a great warrior. This was Temujin, the boy who would become Genghis Khan, but his path to greatness was anything but certain. His father, a minor chieftain, was poisoned by rivals when Temujin was just 9 years old. Abandoned by their clan, his family was cast out, left to fend for themselves in the harsh wilderness. They survived by eating roots and catching small animals, a desperate existence that forged an unbreakable will within the young boy. These early years were a crucible of hardship. Temujin was captured and enslaved by the very clan that had abandoned him. He wore a wooden collar, a symbol of humiliation, but his spirit refused to break. With the help of a sympathetic guard, he staged a daring escape, a feat that began to build his reputation as someone resourceful and determined. He wasn't just surviving, he was learning. He learned about betrayal, loyalty, and the brutal politics of the steppe. Every hardship was a lesson, every setback a stepping stone. A pivotal moment came with the abduction of his young wife, Borte. To rescue her, Temujin had to forge alliances. He sought help from his father's blood brother, Togrul, the powerful Khan of the Carrot tribe, and from his childhood friend and blood brother, Jamukha. Together, they launched a successful raid and rescued Borte. This victory was more than just a personal triumph. It was Temujin's first taste of military command and the power of uniting disparate tribes for a common goal. It was the moment the future conqueror began to emerge from the shadows. After the rescue, Temujin's and Jamukha's paths began to diverge. While they had been as close as brothers, their philosophies on leadership were worlds apart. Jamukha favored the traditional aristocratic system where power was held by noble bloodlines. Temujin, however, promoted a radical new idea, meritocracy. He believed that loyalty and ability should determine a person's rank, not their birth. This revolutionary concept attracted a growing following of warriors who were tired of the old ways. The tension between the two friends escalated, culminating in a bitter rivalry that would split the Mongol tribes and lead to years of conflict. Their final confrontation came at the Battle of the 13 Sides. Despite being outnumbered, Temujin's strategic brilliance and the unwavering loyalty of his men secured him a hard-won victory. Jamukha, defeated and betrayed by his own men, was brought before Temujin. In a somber conclusion to their long and complex relationship, Temujin granted his former friend a noble death, as requested, without the shedding of blood. With Jamukha's defeat, the last major obstacle to Temujin's unification of the Mongol tribes was removed. He had proven that his vision of a unified nation built on merit and loyalty was stronger than the old traditions of division and aristocracy. In 1206, on the banks of the Anan River, a great assembly of all the Mongol tribes, a Kurultai, was called. Here, Temujin was proclaimed the supreme ruler of all the Mongols and given the title Genghis Khan, meaning universal ruler. This wasn't just a coronation. It was the birth of a nation. Genghis Khan immediately set about transforming the fragmented, warring tribes into a disciplined and unified empire. He created the Yassa, a secret code of laws that governed everything from property rights to military discipline. It promoted unity, forbade kidnapping and the selling of women, and established universal laws that applied to everyone, from the lowest soldier to the highest commander. One of his most significant innovations was the reorganization of his army. He broke up the old tribal structures, which were often a source of internal conflict, and organized his warriors into units of 10, 100, 1,000, and 10,000. This decimal system, known as the Tumen, ensured that loyalty was to the Khan and the empire, not to a tribal chieftain. Promotion was based entirely on skill and bravery in battle. This created a professional, highly disciplined, and incredibly mobile fighting force, unlike anything the world had ever seen. The Mongol army became a finely tuned instrument of conquest, ready to be unleashed. With his homeland unified and his army forged into an unstoppable force, Genghis Khan turned his gaze outward. His first major campaign was against the Western Xia Kingdom, a formidable state that controlled the vital trade routes of the Silk Road. The Mongols, masters of steppe warfare, faced a new challenge: siege warfare against fortified cities. But they were quick to adapt. They learned from captured engineers and craftsmen, developing a sophisticated arsenal of siege weapons like catapults and trebuchets. After a series of campaigns, the Western Xia were forced to submit, becoming a vassal state. This victory not only secured valuable resources, but also served as a crucial training ground for the Mongol army's future conquests. Next, the Khan's attention turned to the powerful Jin dynasty in northern China. This was a war on an entirely different scale. The Jin Empire was wealthy, populous, and defended by massive fortifications, including parts of what would become the Great Wall. The Mongol invasion was relentless. They used their superior cavalry to outmaneuver Jin armies in the field, and their newly acquired siege expertise to systematically reduce city after city. In 1215, they captured the Jin capital of Zhengdu, modern-day Beijing. The conquest of northern China brought immense wealth, advanced technology, and skilled artisans into the Mongol Empire, further fueling its expansion. The catalyst for the Mongol invasion of the West was an act of diplomatic arrogance. Genghis Khan sent a trade caravan and ambassadors to the neighboring Khwarezmian Empire, a vast and prosperous sultanate in Central Asia. The governor of a Khwarezmian city, Otrar, foolishly accused the caravan of espionage, executed the merchants, and seized their goods. When Genghis Khan sent envoys to demand justice, the Shah of Khwarezm not only refused, but had one of the ambassadors executed. This insult was an unforgivable affront to the Khan and the Mongol nation. The die was cast. War was inevitable. The Mongol retaliation was swift and devastating. In 1219, Genghis Khan unleashed his full military might on the Khwarezmian Empire. It wasn't just a punitive expedition. It was a masterclass in strategic warfare. He divided his army into multiple columns, executing a multi-pronged invasion that bewildered the Khwarezmian forces. They used feigned retreats, psychological warfare, and unparalleled speed to encircle and annihilate entire armies. The great cities of the Silk Road, Bukhara, Samarkand, Urgench, which had stood for centuries as centers of culture and learning, fell one by one. The destruction was immense, a stark warning to any who would defy the Mongol Empire. While the main army was dismantling the Khwarezmian Empire, Genghis Khan dispatched two of his most brilliant generals, Jib and Subutai, on one of the most remarkable military expeditions in history. With just 20,000 men, they embarked on a great cavalry raid that would take them on a looping journey of over 5,000 miles around the Caspian Sea. They swept through modern-day Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Armenia, defeating every army sent against them. They crossed the Caucasus Mountains in winter and burst onto the plains of southern Russia, where they crushed a coalition of Rus princes at the Battle of the Kalka River. This epic reconnaissance in force not only gathered vital intelligence but also announced the Mongols' arrival on the European stage with terrifying force. Despite his image as a ruthless conqueror, Genghis Khan was also a visionary administrator. He understood that to rule a vast multicultural empire, he needed more than just military might. He established a reliable and efficient postal system known as the Yam. This network of relay stations, stocked with fresh horses and supplies, allowed messengers and officials to travel across the empire with unprecedented speed. A message could travel up to 200 miles in a single day, enabling rapid communication and centralized control over his sprawling domains. The Yam was the nervous system of the Mongol Empire, binding its distant provinces together. Genghis Khan also championed religious tolerance, a policy that was remarkably progressive for its time. Within his empire, Buddhists, Christians, Muslims, and animists were all free to practice their faiths without persecution. He understood that a harmonious society was a stable one. He would often invite leaders of different religions to debate in his court, genuinely curious about their beliefs. This tolerance wasn't just a matter of principle. It was also a pragmatic tool of governance. It prevented religious strife and made it easier to incorporate diverse populations into his empire. He also promoted trade, making the Silk Road safer than it had ever been, ushering in a period of unprecedented commercial and cultural exchange between East and West, later known as the Pax Mongolica, the Mongol Peace. In 1227, during his final campaign against the rebellious Western Shah, Genghis Khan died. The exact cause of his death remains a mystery. Some say he fell from his horse, others claim he succumbed to illness. His final resting place was kept a closely guarded secret. According to legend, his funeral procession killed anyone and anything they encountered on their journey to ensure the location would never be revealed. A river was diverted over his grave to hide it forever. To this day, the tomb of Genghis Khan has never been found, adding to the mystique of the legendary conqueror. But his death was not the end of his empire. Before he died, Genghis Khan had carefully planned for his succession. He divided the empire among his 4 sons Joki, Chagatai, and Tolui, creating 4 separate khanates. He designated his 3rd son, the charismatic and politically astute Gedai, as his successor, the next great Khan. This orderly transition of power ensured that the empire would not collapse into civil war upon his death, a common fate for many great empires of the past. His sons and grandsons would continue his legacy of conquest, pushing the boundaries of the Mongol Empire even further. The legacy of Genghis Khan is complex and often controversial. To many, he is remembered as a brutal tyrant, a destroyer of civilizations whose armies left a trail of death and destruction. The sheer scale of the devastation wrought by the Mongol conquests is undeniable. Entire cities were razed and populations were massacred. Yet, to others, particularly in Mongolia, where he is revered as the founding father of the nation, he is a hero and a visionary leader. They point to his creation of a written language, his legal code, his promotion of trade and communication, and the establishment of a vast, secure empire that connected the East and West like never before. Ultimately, Genghis Khan was a product of his time and place, a brutal world where survival depended on strength and cunning. He rose from the lowest depths of society to become one of the most powerful and influential figures in human history. In just a few decades, he united a fractured people and forged the largest contiguous land empire the world has ever known. His empire spanned from the Pacific Ocean to the heart of Europe, fundamentally reshaping the political and cultural map of the world. His story is a powerful testament to the force of a single individual, his will to not just endure, but to conquer. His impact continues to echo through the centuries, a legacy written in fire and blood, but also in law, trade, and the unlikely unification of a continent. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more epic stories from history.